So, what is going on, everybody? Today, we have another Life as a Journalist segment, and I'm sitting down with Elyssa Smith. She's a trauma informed executive coach, TEDx speaker, and the voice behind Unlock Your Blocks podcast. Elyssa works with high performing women and leaders, helping them break down interior barriers, find balance, and redefine what success really looks like. So, today, we're talking about the journey, the mindset, and the life behind the work. So, how are you doing, Elyssa?
I'm doing so great, Anthony. Thank you so much for having me on. This is such a pleasure.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for coming aboard on this. I mean, I know that you are a very, very busy woman. So you taking the time out your day to do this just makes the world for me. It really does.
It's a pleasure.
Yes. So first question I have is for people just getting to know you, how do you describe what you do?
It's a mouthful, trauma-informed executive coach, right? So most people kind of know what an executive coach is, which means that I work with people who own their own businesses and with top executives in general on coaching. So it could be business coaching, it could be life coaching. I'm a certified life coach. The trauma-informed piece is what's really the kicker because most people don't realize every single person is walking around with some sort of trauma. And for a lot of us, we don't feel traumatized. So, why, I have a lot of people say, well, what if I don't have any trauma? And it's because you won't necessarily know what happened to you that was traumatizing because your brain did its job. So, my
Mm,
job as a trauma informed executive coach is I work with high performing women, CEOs, C suite execs to help get to their next level of success and start to unlock what's been blocking them that they don't even know is hidden in this hidden trauma root potentially. We all have protector parts that come out: procrastination, perfectionism, people pleasing. People think these are just bad habits. They are not.
mhm.
They are protector parts that come out and try to stop you from doing what feels scary to your nervous system.
That makes sense, honestly. And like you said, these are habits or things that are implanted in your brain that kind of like, I like, what do you describe that? Like you said, your brain kind of, does it trick you or is that like just how the brain works as far as that? Can you describe it a little bit more? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I love that question. It blocks you. You won't even know it's
Mm,
happening. So, it might be helpful. I'd love to explain a little bit of what happens when we are in survival mode, which might sound like something different, but it's all related. So, if you think about survival mode, I mean, just give me an example of what you think of, Anthony, just to put you on the spot a little bit on your own show. What do you think of when you think of
what
survival mode?
when I think of survival mode, I think of any way that you could get. Actually, I think of like you performing in a way to where you go back to your old habits. So you go back
Hmm.
to whatever habits, whether you were 5, 6, or 8 years old, and you go back to those old habits that you kind of foundation of. So I think of like when you were a baby, of course, like whenever I used to get stressed out, I used to suck on my thumb. And
Yeah.
sometimes like whenever I get stressed out, I catch myself doing this. I'm just like, why am I doing that? And I'm just like, okay, I'm kind of stressed out. So that's what I think of with
Yeah.
survival mode.
That's exactly it. So, your nervous system is designed to put you in a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode when you are stressed from a young age so that you can survive your childhood. That's why we always say, like, oh, children are resilient. Yeah, because they have to survive. So, the other option is that the child doesn't have any responses to the stress in their environment and then they just fail to thrive, which is not, your nervous system's job is to keep you alive. So it will not allow for, oh, we're just not going to do anything about this. No, it's like, oh, I only get praised when I perform perfectly. So what am I going to do? I'm going to be the hardest worker in the room and I'm going to try and be perfect all the time. What am I going to do? I'm going to be stressed out and I'm going to cope in this one way. Like you said, like you kind of find yourself, a lot of people who soothe with self-soothe with sucking a thumb or with chewing on things as a little one will do the same thing, nail biting, a lot of different things as an adult. So our system is programmed to stick with its default, to stick with what's worked in the beginning to help us navigate stress. Here's what's actually physiologically happening with the body when you're stressed and when you're in this survival mode. This is why I call it a whole mode, because it's not just like, oh, I'm stressed and so I do these things. This is a whole different way of operating that I call it the hostile right brain takeover. Okay? So what happens is your nervous system is constantly scanning the horizon for threats to your safety, mentally, emotionally, physically. So it will spot a threat and be like, oh, that paper is due tomorrow and we haven't started it yet. And we were supposed to start it 3 months ago. It'll see that as the same type of threat as, oh my gosh, this saber-toothed tiger is chasing us and we're going to be someone's lunch. Same level of survival mode happens in both cases. So when that happens, the nervous system does one set of behaviors in that moment. And the first thing it does is shuts down your logical thinking. It shuts down your higher level decision making. Your executive functions in the frontal lobe of the brain just take a break because they assume, oh, we need some fight or flight in here to save our lives right now. So in that moment, there's no rational thinking. It's the same reason that you can go from 0 to 60 in a rage trigger when, when you were like, I was fine 5 minutes ago. Why did I spilled this and now I'm like, going off at the mouth about it. So your system loses all touch with rational reality in a moment of survival mode. So that's any moment of stress, really. The things that go offline, things that you don't need when you're running from a wild animal. You don't need your digestive system when you're running away from something. You're not going to eat a burger on the way to the nearest tree, getting away from that saber-toothed cat, right? You don't need your immune system. Who's fighting the flu in this 20-meter dash to get out of the way of this animal that's chasing you? You're not going to need reproductive function. A lot of couples who are having reproductive issues will get told like, oh, you got to stress less, which is easier said than done, right? That's a whole other talk. But the bottom line is anything that you don't need in the next 30 to 60 seconds of trying to save your own life, that's what goes out the window until you stop feeling the threat. But if you think about the fact that we have I'm holding up my phone, like we have all of these threats, these notifications, this ping driven lifestyle, the threats don't stop. It used to be in caveman days where like you would notice, okay, I'm getting chased by something and now I'm up in the tree and now the threat went away. And so now, okay, now we'll relax and now we'll go back to the cave and everything will continue as normal. But if the threat is never perceived to stop, you stay in a heightened state. You lose the digestive system, you lose the immune system over a long period of time. It leads to chronic issues such as mental health issues, emotional health issues, literal physical health issues, digestive problems, and autoimmune issues. So this is survival mode. And it just puts you into this place where you don't have access to your normal thinking and you can't talk yourself out of it, which is where my specialty comes in because I help my clients work with the limbic system, which is that sort of underneath survival system, the nervous system, to help them communicate that actually we aren't going to die right now. And not only that, but it's safe to do something that feels a little scary. So it actually takes rewiring of the brain and the thought processes that you learned when you were little to give you access to your next level of success, because those same things that got you to where you are today will not get you to that next level of success.
That makes so much sense, honestly. I'm just so glad that you broke it down like that. That just makes so much sense as far as just, the foundation and how people when they were children, how their different levels of stress and how they management and how it kind of goes into adulthood. And that makes sense as far as you the way that you break it down. Like what are some of the strategies and what are some of the tasks that you do to go into it as far as that?
Yeah, there is. So I have several different arms of how I like kind of what my business and how I help people with my expertise. So the top priority is communicating safety to the system. If you've ever tried to talk yourself out of stress, like you need to just calm down, this is not that big of a deal, it's going to be okay. You know that has no effect on like your heart rate system. These are the other systems that get revved up in that survival mode. Anything you would need if you were running from a wild animal. So your nervous system tells your heart rate to go up. It tells your breathing to get short of breath because you might just need to sprint somewhere really quickly. It tells your muscles to tense up, right? So if you find that one of the ways we check for stress, and this is part of working with the nervous system, is checking in with your shoulders every day, a few times a day. Just check in. Are they up around your ears or are they relaxed? How is this space between your eyebrows? How is your jaw? What feelings do you feel in your chest and your stomach? So we work with the nervous system by noticing what's happening in the moment, typically in the body, But you might also see, gosh, I mean, I have a TEDx talk that's called Why You Procrastinate and How to Stop It for Good. And I have people find me all the time on there who are just like, oh my gosh, I'm about to lose my job because I can't stop scrolling when I'm at work and I just keep putting off my projects. And it's like they feel that they're defective, but really it's the nervous system just saying it's not safe to go do that because it's going to put you on the spot. You're going to become visible and then you could be criticized. And criticism when you're a kid means you're going to get kicked out of the tribe, or you're going to be, ignored, or you're not going to get your needs met somehow. Now, as the adults that we are today, we don't have those same risks, right? Like today, if I make a mistake, I'm still going to feed myself. I'm still going to have clothing on my back. I'm going to have a house, over my head. But as little kids, we have way more at stake because we're not the one that's taking care of us. So as adults, we might notice we're in that survival mode and we need to work with the nervous system and send it some safety messages if we're stuck in procrastination, if we're stuck in negative self-talk, if we're stuck in our own heads, if we are noticing imposter syndrome, feeling like, oh my gosh, well, any second I'm going to be found out that I don't belong here. I shouldn't be, for me, when I was first starting to do public speaking, it was like, they're going to find out I don't belong on this TV morning segment. I don't have any TV training. What am I doing here? Like, they're gonna, the first time I did a keynote, gosh, what if they realize, well, like, what if the event organizer figures out this is the first time I'm doing this type of it's like, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. You just hire a speaker because they're good. You just put somebody on TV because what they have to say is interesting. So it doesn't, but in your own mind, you might be stopping yourself from putting yourself in a more vulnerable place or doing something unknown. So we work with the nervous system to convey safety. I have a system that I wrote about in my Forbes article called the 3S framework. And I would love to share that if you feel like it would be helpful, because this is where everybody listening can start today to start to regulate. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay, so let's do that. So the 3S framework is super simple. And the first S is safety. So it's, again, conveying to your nervous system that you are safe. There is a central nerve, and it kind of plugs into the back of your brain and comes down the side of your neck and face and then down the front of your body. And it is one of the primary message senders in the body. And this part plus the amygdala in the right, in the survival brain are what sound the alarm when they don't feel safe. So we got to speak directly to these two parts of the nervous system. And the way we do this is not with words, because you can't just be like, calm down. Like, how many people who have anxiety are so tired of people being like, just chill out, man. Like, just calm down. It doesn't work. I mean, I am like,
It doesn't.
I had serious clinical anxiety and depression for a lot of my 20s and 30s. Like, this is not helpful. So here's what it does understand. Your nervous system, your vagus nerve and your amygdala understand 3 deep breaths. It sounds so simple. And the first time someone told me this, I rolled my eyes significantly. But the bottom line is 3 slow breaths are something that you cannot do if you're being chased by a tiger. You can't do it.
Right.
Your brain and your body need evidence that you're not being chased. So we start with slow breathing to build our track record of safety. So I know everybody just took a big, deep breath with me. So you start there, and it seems so simple, but it works every time. It'll buy you back a few minutes of calm and safety in your mind. The second S is self-nurturing. What I mean by this is I feel like self-care has become kind of a fluffy term. Like, everyone's like, self-care, and dudes, take care of yourself. But really what I mean, like, let's put some meat on this. What I mean is do something nice for all 5 senses. I rarely don't have a cup of tea. Like, I have my favorite tea in my hand right now, and I enjoy the process of making tea. I enjoy brewing the hot water, and it can be a full mindful experience if you want it or need it to be, but you could also just stop, pick up the tea, you're touching it, you're smelling it, you're tasting it, you're looking at the color. My mango one is kind of like an orangey red color, and you're kind of noticing those things. And your brain knows, your amygdala will be like, wait, hold on. Why are we noticing the color and smell of tea if we're trying to get away from a threat? And it's like, oh, maybe we're not getting away from a threat. So you pair that with a deep breathing, and you can buy yourself 5 minutes of calm, man. It is so simple. You do not have to take a vacation Although if you can, please do. But if you can't do that, go make yourself a cup of tea. Go make your favorite snack. Really look at it, smell it. It just sounds so dumb. I'm such a practical person, and I was so cynical when I came into this healing process for myself. But these little tiny things over time will actually train your neural pathways differently. You will have a different path for your brain. Point A to point B no longer equals C. That used to be like point A, stressor appears. Point B, we panic. And point C, we might try and fix it, but it's going to be very haphazard because we still don't have access to our higher level thinking. Thank you very much. Until we're calm. So point A, we're stressed, can bypass point B entirely. We don't have to do the stress and the freak out. We can do the 3 deep breaths. We can just bypass everything. We can go to step D, and we're just breathing slow, and we're like, don't worry, body. You're not really talking to it, but you're just showing it. Take a slow breath of your warm beverage. Breathe it in, smell, light a candle, do something that nurtures your senses, because you're proving that you're not running from a wild animal in that moment. So then your third S is safe support. And this is the one that I tell you, my high achievers have the most problem with this one, because one of the things we typically learn as high achievers is you have to do it all yourself. You need to be better, you need to work harder, and you need to do more, and you got to do it alone, because otherwise you don't have your value in the tribe. Now, whether or not you got told those things as a kiddo, it doesn't really matter. You probably picked it up from parents who never took a break, or other kinds of scenarios where you saw that, like, oh, the hardest worker in the room is the one that gets the most accolades or the most of their needs met. So when you ask for support, this can be very scary for someone who's not used to asking for help. So this is how I recommend starting. If you're new at asking for support, just literally text someone that cares about you. Doesn't have to be about your rough day. Doesn't have to be about the stress trigger. Your brain just needs to see, oh, I'm still in a tribe. I'm not going to be isolated and therefore picked off by a predator. So it just needs to know you're talking to somebody that cares about you. So that's the bottom line, easy entry level right there. So that's the 3S framework. And I hope it helps somebody today.
No, it definitely will help me. You see me, I'm taking notes and everything, so it definitely will help me. I feel like that definitely does make sense as far as that. Just establish it and just telling yourself that it's okay. Like, first of all, not telling yourself it's okay. My bad. I'm sorry. Not telling yourself it's okay. Taking a deep breath. My bad. Taking a deep breath, first of all, and then self-nurturing. I feel like that's one of the things that I've definitely been doing before work is I take a cup of coffee and I drink it and I just calm myself down before I go into the storm. And it definitely has helped. Now you said tea. I've been drinking coffee. I know that it's been helping me. So no, and that definitely does make sense. Like you just gotta take a deep breath and calm down. And like you said, it might not be like the actual it might be the craziest thing to say, but taking a deep breath definitely does help. So
it does.
I like that. It really does.
Yeah. And you said, telling your system, honestly, it's not talking, it's not words, but it's communication, right?
Right.
We are communicating safety in a way that our amygdala understands when we're doing the 3 S's.
Yes, that makes sense. That makes sense. I do want to know, you work with a lot of high performing people. Like, what made you curious to like get into how the mind works?
So I went through about 10 years ago, I was kind of realizing, because when you're going through hard stuff, your brain normalizes it to help you survive. But about 10 years ago, my whole life fell apart. I mean, I just lost my primary relationship, had massive birth trauma after I had my son. My body was broken. I was emotionally and mentally unstable. And I didn't recognize it all as trauma until much later. And I wish I had had the resources and tools then that I do now, and that I give my clients now. But from that journey, as I started to heal and as I started to find modalities that really were helpful to me, and as I slowly stopped rolling my eyes every time someone told me to meditate, and as I, as I kind of noticed that the inner critic in there that was like telling everyone how cheesy it was to like talk about your feelings and all this dumb stuff, that I was like, what's the point? I just really was like such a poster child for anti everything mindful. But as I started to actually find the things that helped and healed, I noticed that there was a connection between the trauma pain I had felt as soon as I started recognizing, oh, that was trauma. There was a connection between that and the triggers that caused me to procrastinate and be late everywhere. So I
Okay.
started just a little bit at a time. I started to kind of see if I could peel back the layers of, okay, this pain seems related to this behavior. So what is that? And at the same time, I was doing all this personal healing and research and getting some training in trauma recovery as a trauma coach and other certifications that I went and found that had been helpful to me. So I was like, I want to help people with this. The research was also starting to surface that, hey, you can change your brain pathways. That was new information, 10 to 15 years ago. We have neuroplasticity, which means that you can actually take a neural pathway that has
Mhm.
established itself, whether that's anxiety, depression, panic, trauma triggers, self deprecation, negative self talk, whatever it is, and you can change it. So I threw everything I had into doing that for myself. And as I stopped talking so mean to myself, I was like, okay, maybe there's something to this deep breathing thing. And as I stopped procrastinating everything till the last minute and needing a hard deadline that I would then stay up all night the night before to complete the project and refusing to start it any earlier, like I had this inner rebel and I didn't know where she came from. And so then I got into the neural pathway changing and the brain science behind it. Then I got into I actually have other training that has to do with inner child reparenting because again, with 10 years ago, Alyssa's eye rolls in the
Right.
background of this, like actually speaking to and working with the parts of your brain that are still stuck at the child response level. Those are the ones that are responding in stress all the time. And so those parts will find their way out and they will sabotage your success. And so when I started doing coaching and I was finding like, oh, all the women that I deal with need the 3 S's. Okay, so that's what that this helps everyone. And then it was like, okay, well, people that are really high achievers find themselves in procrastination loops and overthinking. Even though they're accomplishing more than the average person, they find themselves mentally overworked all the time and it ends up blowing up their relationships, burning
Yes.
them out, all this different stuff. It was like had found ways by that point to stop those cycles in myself. And I had this, I didn't start out working with people on a neural pathway level. I started out working with people just with trauma. And then once I realized, oh my
Mm.
gosh, it's not just people who are in crisis that need this. It is people who are high performers who want to get to the next level and who are actually really helping the world and I want to help them do that at a higher level. So that was kind of the interesting winding path. And then as I continued to level up my own healing, I would just grab onto the things that were super helpful for me and build them into how I help people. Because I always joke, I'm going to write a book one day that says, I went to 15 therapists, so you don't have to. Because it's no joke. I've had over a dozen therapists in the last 15 years.
Wow.
And it's because it's really hard to find someone who knows their stuff, who has the right training and right credentials and qualifications, and who has done enough of their own work and has the right balance of how they practice to actually be helpful. So I have people that come to me all
Mm.
the time with therapy induced trauma and they just find me as a coach and they're like, I heard you do something with trauma and I have this trauma and I had a terrible experience in therapy. What do I do? So honestly, I started offering a concierge service where I will help people find a therapist because I know so much about all the qualifications. I have colleagues that are therapists that we do mutual referrals. So it's just kind of this cool thing that has emerged that I now can help people on this level of changing their brain pathways.
Right. Isn't that so amazing? I mean, like you said you had the expertise, you said you knew the knowledge behind it, but it wasn't until you actually got your own experience and figure out how to break your own triggers. That's when you went to the next level. That's exciting, honestly. That really is. I mean, it's sad that you had to endure that, but at the same time, you endured it for a better cause. And now you're in the position to where you want to be. And that's great. I really do love that.
Thank you so
At
much.
what point, of course, definitely. In your podcast, Unlock Your Blocks, what's a conversation that challenged you or changed you?
Oh, I have so many wonderful guests on there. So, um, to be honest, I love making my solo episodes. They're short and sweet, 10 to 15 minutes, and it is a challenge for me. So I learned this when I was doing my TEDx talk because a TED Talk has to be 18 minutes or less. But I was used to speaking and doing trainings 45 minutes or more. So to condense that, what I wanted to say in this TEDx talk down to, I think it ended up being something just over 13 minutes, was one of the biggest challenges of my life. So right now, I am having a blast with challenging myself to pull out the most important thing for 10 to 15 minutes and be able to talk to people about it. And I think what that has allowed me to do too is to really enjoy then the guest episodes. And I because we just allow that conversation to go for 30 to 45 minutes, right? So the
Right.
challenge of getting rid of my perfectionism, getting rid of the procrastination around preparing the episodes, getting rid of all these things. And I say getting rid of like it's been like, you out of here. It's not like that. It's more just like, okay, what doesn't feel safe about moving forward? Like I have a whole way that I approach this now. So I think that's one challenge that I've had that has been wonderful, because every high achiever has these blocks where it comes to not wanting to make a mistake, not wanting to miss anything, not wanting to leave anything out, forget something, but just to give it like, hey, kind of the rough and dirty 10 to 15 minute version of something is really a beautiful experience for me. And I hear people say all the time that they love hearing that way from me. And then to answer your, like, in a part two, I had a conversation with a really wonderful person. She is an empathy expert. And I'm an
Okay.
empath, and I feel like you are too, Anthony, because I get that vibe. Like you can really put yourself in the person's shoes who you're interviewing.
Right.
So she's an empath and she's an empathy expert, and she gets pulled into workplaces in corporate as a consultant to help HR and team members uh, be empathetic when their other team members have a crisis. So she's kind of like a crisis management expert, but it's really
Okay.
beautiful. But her
I can see that.
story, I wish I could tell you right off the top of my head which episode this is. Her name is Liesl Mertes. Her story starts with lots of loss and the loss of a child. And so, as a mother, that conversation was very confronting because she and I also share faith. And she came from a perspective of having had to forgive a lot around the pain. Now, I had lots of trauma, but I did not have any losses like that. And so I think being in that conversation and being able to be present, but also as a perfectionist and as an empath, one of the things that's always been hard for me in the past is keeping a boundary where I'm not taking on the other person's pain. And as a coach, I have to be really good at that. In this conversation, it was like so beautiful, but also so confronting and so raw when we were talking about her experience. So that was a really wonderful, kind of a jaw-dropping conversation for me.
Yes, I'm kind of like that. You said that how you have to not put yourself completely in somebody's shoes, but hear their perspective. Because my friend Alexis Martin, she's a family support specialist. She tells me all the time about the different things that goes upon with different families and everything. So you hear her story, it's just like
Yeah.
you want to have empathy, but at the same time, like not get too sad and too into
You
it.
still have
And
to interview
yeah, you still
the
have to interview.
person.
Yes, honestly, I mean, I will have to watch it definitely to see it. And the
Yeah.
only if it makes me cry now, I have to. I might have to, let me know. Is it a tearjerker? Is it really? I mean, you said it's really goes into it, but yeah,
Yeah, and
that's
I
what's
and
up.
I don't I don't know if it's a tearjerker for everyone, but it was for me, and she and I really connected over the raw, fierce space that you have to be in to forgive a major loss in your life, to forgive God, to forgive yourself, to forgive the circumstances. But the amount of emotion that has to be processed through that is really incredible. So she talks a lot about anger. She talks a lot about fear, sadness, and then there's beautiful rebirth after loss. And that, I think, grief in and of itself is a whole thing. And just really being able to stay with yourself, to stay present during those healing times is where we she and I really centered the talk around that, and it was a really beautiful talk.
That's great, honestly. Yeah, I'm definitely got to watch that, and that's really cool. Unlock your blocks. How long have you been doing it for?
My the podcast debuted in February. So
It may
actually,
be
I guess, yeah,
February.
it's like
Nice.
February 24th, something like that. So it's new, but we're almost to 60 episodes now.
Right. No, that's really good. And you said that you love doing content. I mean, being a perfectionist can kind of be hard for me as well, trying to get content out. And I'll be trying to, look the best professional way I can. But sometimes you just got to get it out. You just got to get it
You
out,
just,
be yourself, and get
yeah.
as much content as you can. So I really do love that for you, Elyssa. That's
Done is
great.
better than perfect. That's what one of my mentors
Yes,
tells me. Done is better than perfect. Get it out there,
I heard
baby.
that. Okay, so can we kind of go into a little bit just chill and more laid back questions. So when you're
Yes.
not coaching or speaking, what do you enjoy doing?
Salsa dancing. I love
Ooh,
salsa dancing.
okay.
I get with my girlfriends. We go out to a place in Indianapolis, and we'll go out. I don't get to go as often as I really want to, but that is one thing that I really love to do. I also love. I mean, I didn't used to love working out, but I went during my life during that whole sort of trauma time of my life. Part of the birth complications for me were that I couldn't walk for like 9 months. So I had complications with my
Wow.
knees, and I used to run and do like half marathons and stuff. And I legit couldn't walk. And we had moved at that point. I had moved across the country away from my whole family. I was isolated. We were living just outside of New York City. I had a new baby, and I was trying to learn the subway system with like a baby on a pouch on my front, and the baby bag on my back, and carrying the baby carriage over my shoulder, like going up and down. I mean, it was nonsense, man. And during that time, when I had to make those trips to go to the doctor or to do whatever, my knees would swell up the size of like melons. It was really,
Wow.
I
Jeez.
couldn't sit on the floor with my son. Like I couldn't crisscross applesauce on the
Wow.
floor. So when I started physical therapy, I went 3 times a week for about 6 months before I noticed any difference. It was like I just felt like they kept measuring my muscle strength, and they kept measuring the things that were going on, and they were like, "It is getting better even though you're still in pain." I'm like, "Okay, I guess we'll keep doing this." And then I had a breakthrough, and I'll never forget the first run that I was able to go on, just like down the street and all the way back, and I didn't hurt. So one of my favorite things at this point in my life is working out. I have a trainer, and we do all kinds of stuff. We run, we do weights, we do all this stuff. So I love workouts. I do Zumba classes. And I really, again, dancing is my jam. That's what I love to do the most.
I love that. First, let's address this. 9 months is ridiculous. 9 months? I
It
bet
was
you, like,
intense.
I'm thinking in my head, maybe 9 months. Wow. I mean, for you to
Yeah.
get through that, yeah, I would be salsa dancing as much as I could too,
It's
honestly.
right. People are
No,
like, "You work out too much." And I'm like, "I only work out when I want to and I feel like it, and it makes me really happy." So
yes.
I just
And I don't know what working out does. Like, I get my best ideas and I just craft a lot of just, success plans and business plans in my head whenever I go work out. I work out 5 to 6 days a week. I was
Yep.
with you. I was doing what I do today? I did legs today. Oh my goodness. I did squats. Like forgot what it's called. It's like you split your legs between
Uh-huh.
or and you do squats with it. I was
Uh-huh.
really tired. Today was leg day,
Yeah.
but don't skip leg day, definitely. Yeah.
Man, don't never skip a leg day. Yesterday was arms for me, and I still can't really raise my arms up past this because we were doing bench press and we were
Oh my
doing squats.
goodness. Arm day when you could barely drive home. Oh my goodness.
Oh, and you're just like, I can't. And I'm like trying to take notes for clients yesterday. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. Yeah, but I think movement is such a privilege, and there are so many people. Man, so one of the things I love working with my clients on is their healthy daily habits, because that's something that it can be so challenging to put yourself first in your day. For if you're a high achiever, like putting your own needs, putting your self nurturing first is really challenging. Usually movement is one of the things that goes by the wayside. And then nutrition is next. Sometimes people will eat okay, but they'll never move. So one of my favorite things is helping people find movement that they feel grateful for. Like I'll never forget, before I had my son, I was doing really long distance stuff. I did a triathlon at one point that was
Oh wow.
70.3 miles total. It was like a
Whoa,
mile and a half swim,
73.
and then and then a 56-mile bike ride, and then a half marathon at the end. That is one of the biggest accomplishments I've ever had in my life, aside from delivering my son. Like that was my physical feat that I have never done before or since. And at the time, someone that I knew had just had a leg amputated because he had served in Vietnam, and he wasn't able to walk, and he would never walk again, never run again, was in a wheelchair. And during the half marathon, I had been stung by a bee in my ear during the bike ride. I don't even listen. This is a whole story for another day, but I don't even know how this bee found me. It was like I had a helmet on, and this bee found its way inside my ear and stung me. So I'm like icing my ear and grabbing ice at every pit stop. And then I get to the half marathon and I'm like, I am going to die. I'm going to lay down and die, right? Like, I just cannot going to make it through this. And I remembered this was before I knew about trauma, before I knew about gratitude and mindfulness, but I knew that if I could find a mantra and if I could be grateful for something, I could probably make it to the end. Not only did I make it to the end with this mantra that I'll share with you, but I made it. My goal was 7 hours. I made it in 7 hours and some seconds to that finish line because
Wow.
I kicked
Yes.
up the gear so much in the run with this gratitude mantra. So what it was I was, and I'm a rhythm person. So I was like, run, 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 like right, left, right, left, right. I am grateful. Or yeah, let's say I am sleek. I am strong. I am grateful. And when I thought grateful, what I was thinking of is this man that I knew in my life that was close to our family who didn't have a leg. And I was like, I
Mm.
have two legs. I have two legs. And that's all I need to get through this race. That's all I need. So this gratitude that I have in me, and then I had my own experience with not being able to walk for very long. So gratitude can just put you in such a different headspace. And I think that's why I
Yes.
dance so much because I'm so happy I can do it. It makes me so thrilled. A run gives me cleared headspace. Like you said, it elicits the creativity. So I think we all need that space for ourselves where our cells can in our body can be engaged with the creativity and inspiration process.
Yes, that makes sense. I mean, the body is a temple, and just creating a sense of space to where you can lift a weight, to where you can walk, to where you
Yeah.
can run. I mean, it creates a sense of gratitude, and I love that. I mean, I try to create gratitude in myself every single day, and it's the first gratitude that you get. Like starting off 5:30, that's when I do 5:30. I wake up, read my Bible, go to the gym, and it starts my whole
Yes.
entire day. So I love that. That's really good, honestly. Uh, of a marathon. I couldn't even think of doing that. I could never. And you said you had to swim in it. You had to
Yeah, you
swim
start
as
off with a
well.
swim. So triathlon is swim, bike, run. So not only do you swim, which I started, listen, I was going through a really hard time at this time, and it was the initial parts of the trauma that culminated in everything that happened right after my son was born. So the trauma was starting around this time in my life. And I was like, I just need to know that I can complete something like this. And I worked in a triathlon shop at that time, and I was watching people who were in less shape than me. They were completing these little triathlons, and I was like, I'll try one. And I was terrified at the deep end of the pool, Anthony. I was like, how am I going to swim in a lake for a mile and a half? Like, what do you mean?
It's the
So I
running part for
started with
me.
swim
Yeah.
lessons. And I started and I trained for, let me think about this. I trained for 8 months. And I just was at a point in my life where stuff was so difficult for me and the trauma was really starting to heat up, where I was like, this is what I need for me. I need to know that I can do this. And for everybody, it's something different. You just have to find the next right thing that resonates with your system while you're going through hard times. And so I think I went the long way, the hard way, but I did complete this race in the path of that. And it was really, but man, you got to, for this particular long one, that culminated after 8 months, culminated in this long 56-mile bike ride. You start the bike ride wet because you get out of the water and you take your wetsuit off and then you get on your bike. It's nuts.
Oh
It's
no.
nuts, man.
Oh my
I would like to
goodness.
do it again though. It was amazing.
You
Maybe
would
not
like to
that
do it
long.
again.
I'll do a little one again.
Okay, okay. That's amazing, honestly. Congratulations for actually doing that and getting through it and going through the trials that you went through and enduring those. And I just want to know, final question I have is what is something that's bringing you joy lately? What is something that's bringing you joy? Something that you can think of?
So, because of what I do, I get to experience and learn more about how childhood psychology develops. This sounds really super. I feel like I need to adjust my nerd glasses here. I got my I'm like full on into like Encyclopedia Brown or something. But essentially my my learning about what I learn about and doing the inner child reparenting for my adult clients, and then helping them parent their children from a perspective of gentleness and attachment. That's another sidebar of what I get to do that I find to be a real privilege. My son is 11. And because I have studied everything I studied, and I made some real mistakes when he was little, before I really understood all how his brain was developing and this kind of thing, getting to watch him become the man that he's becoming is by
Mm.
far the most joyful thing that I have in my life. Now, I don't know if everybody's going to be seeing the video of this or if they're going to be hearing this, but I have a little dog in the background here. So, and
They're gonna
that's
be
my
able to
little,
see him.
she's my little office manager. So
Oh,
she
see,
brings me
okay.
a lot of joy. But watching my theories about how to care for a child kind of come to fruition. And listen, he's going to be messed up too. I'm messing him up in my own special brand of messing up. And I
Right.
always tell him like, "Hey, I've got this money set aside for you. You can use it for college or you can use it for therapy, but you'll need to recover from my mistakes, okay?" But getting to see another human and like putting my heart and soul into giving him the best chance that he has to be resilient, to be equipped for this world, and to not start off in life being any more traumatized than he needs to be, because we all
Yeah.
get traumatized. That has been phenomenal. And then getting to see how he sees the world, and having been able to kind of protect his innocence, in a way through homeschooling and through doing, nervous system regulation with him since he was little, getting to see what his ideas are for changing this world. He and his
Yes.
cousin homeschool together, and they have these ideas and they're building these business plans for changing things in the world to make it better. And I can't tell you a greater joy.
That is so amazing, honestly. And like you said, one of the shows I've been watching recently is Bel Air. And it shows that no matter if you get a penthouse, no matter if you make $1 million one day, the trials and tribulations are always going to come no matter what. But the fact that you said you could put him in the right position and stop those, at least stop the trials that most people have or the other foundations that people have, and just put him in the best position that he can. I mean, that's amazing. Listen, I mean, what better joy do you want? I mean, to have your child to have the best chance of success in life.
Yes,
That's, you
exactly.
can't
There's
ask for
nothing
anything
like it.
better. You
There's
get
nothing
that's
like it.
and everyone wants that. Everyone wants that. Everyone wants that in the future. Even thinking when I have children one day, I will want that. So that's
Yes.
amazing, Alyssa. Yes.
Yeah. And it's really possible. It's really possible because I used to think like, oh, well, you'll just never know if you messed them up until they're adults. But it turns out you can give them tools as you go, and you can, I mean, goodness knows, like I know that when God made me a mother, he knew that it was my best chance at becoming the best version of me, because had I not become a mother at the time that I did, I don't know that I would have addressed the other traumas in my life, because
Right.
it's so harrowing to become a new parent. And it's beautiful, it's joyful to have a new baby, but it's also like the worst thing ever and the best thing ever at the same time, because you have to switch how everything works in your life. And so I will never stop being grateful that my life fell apart at the time that it did. I don't wish this on anyone. I don't want anyone to have to go through what my son and I went through in his delivery, and I don't want anyone to go through the traumas I went through. But I don't regret for a minute that God let me experience those things, because I like who I am now, and I'm giving him a better chance at being resilient for everything life comes at him.
Right. It's all in, it all gives glory to God, honestly. He has a plan for us, a plan to give us
Amen.
hope and a future. So, and the trials and tribulations that you endure is shaped to now help better your son. So
Yes.
it's literally all in God's will. Like, even when I said
Amen.
this, even when I first talked to you, I said this whole interview, I'm just like, if it's, I didn't even like press it upon you. I said, if it's in God will, it will happen. And it
Yes.
happened. So
Yeah, it
that's
worked
so
out so
amazing.
well for this week. It worked
Yes.
out so well. I'm so grateful.
Yes, I'm so grateful as well. Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Lisa. Thank you for coming on here. This is, like I said, it's a life as a journalist segment. It's just a chance for me to just get better as a journalist, to broadcast and speak, and to have interviews with amazing people who do amazing things. So I appreciate you, and have a blessed day, Alyssa. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, and God bless you too.
Yes. Oh, is there anything you want to plug as well at the end?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, if people want to catch me on YouTube, I've got a YouTube channel that we just started a few months ago. I would love for people to find me on there. It's elyssasmith.com/YouTube. And yes, like, subscribe, share. If you find something that resonates, I'd love to see you over there.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Like I said, thank you if you're listening to this. Have a blessed day, and thank you again, Elyssa. I appreciate it.